Hey everyone, welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a show dedicated to the incredible survivors of child sexual abuse here in New Zealand and out across the world. My name's Gloria Masters and I'm your host. If you're joining us for the first time, you are very welcome to be here. And if you are a survivor, we send nothing but love and support to you. We have on every show incredibly brave adults who are happy to share their story, so that we can understand more about how widespread this is and the different types of sexual abuse that occur across the world to children. As with all shows, there is a trigger warning, and we issue that because we don't want you traumatized or upset. If you feel either of those things, please stop watching, go to the show notes below, and you'll be dedicated to some resource and further support. I have a wonderful survivor with me today, and she's all the way from South Taranaki, which is in New Zealand, my homeland. She's a survivor. She's also an author, and her name is Sue Phillip. Welcome to the show, Sue.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you.
So, how we generally tend to start, Sue, is what happened to you growing up regarding your child sexual abuse, just as little or as much as you feel comfortable sharing, so that we can get a sense of what you've experienced.
Okay. Um, because I was very young when it happened, um, I didn't find out because you block it out. But my family, it was my father was a pedophile, and my mother and father joined this Mormon church when I was 4 years old. And I was brought up very strictly, and you have limited knowledge. You just things that you just, and I had no clue what a pedophile was until I left the church. And that was traumatic to start with because I was in my 40s by then. And I had 4 children to this man I married who I didn't love. And and he was a Mormon too. It's a Mormon church Bible. But I had a suspicion that something was wrong. And I kept having this dream, which was when I was very young. Um, I was there was a babysitter. My parents had gone out, and there was a babysitter, and I had cried out. I was in bed, supposedly asleep, but I woke up and I started crying out. And the babysitter came in and asked me what was wrong, and then I didn't really say anything because I didn't know her that well with the babysitter, and then for some reason, she pulled the covers off me, and my underpants were on my ankle. And I thought it was a strange dream, and I didn't remember anything after that. And I thought it was a strange dream, but had no clue as to what that referred to. Anyway, when I left the church, I went to a rebirther, and they take you back to your childhood. And I was able to reveal then that my father was a pedophile, and our whole family was affected by it because once he once he grew older, he went to the next child. So and it's obvious in my younger sister because she had it the longest. She's totally incompetent. She's and well, the mum took her to the doctor, and she they said there's nothing wrong with her, but she was unable to give a job. He just was um, not capable of living by. He lived with my parents for years, and he did get a job in a grocery shop in one of the countdown shops, but and he was told what to do there, so he was able to keep that job. But when she got older, she couldn't even do that. Um, and I tried when I found out what had happened to us. I tried to tell her, but she was so in denial that I just couldn't get through. And she had also been abused by the guy next door. We were sitting all out for dinner, all the rest, and she wasn't there. And my mother said, "Oh, well, you go on me," asked me to go and find her. So I went next door, and there was a tent up in the above the beside the house next door, and he was in there with the young guy. He wasn't very old, but I caught them doing something, and it stayed with me for ages. And I tried to tell her about that, but it's not. Just they block it out. And I had blocked it out for so long.
How
Anyway, when I, sorry, uh,
so how old were you, do you think? Do you recall when the abuse first began with your father? How old do you think you may have been?
I was under three. It would
Under
be
three.
two, 2.5. Yeah, I was
And
definitely under three.
so when you say that, once you, I guess we're calling it aged out, he'd go to the next child.
Yeah.
What age do you think that might have been where it stopped for you in that case?
I think when my brother was the next child, it didn't matter what sex they were. It doesn't. Um, he when he was not, I think he was about 18 months. So that would, yeah, I think, I don't, it's
So
hard to
I guess,
remember.
yeah, I guess I'm wondering how old you were when your father stopped abusing you, when the abuse stopped.
Yeah, it's not when he was older, so, well, not older, but
For you,
I would have been, yeah, I would have been, well, it didn't only last a couple of years, I think, so I would have been 4.
oh,
I
okay.
know it was, we moved, funny enough, we moved straight after that incident with the babysitter. We moved back to Auckland. I was in Cambridge. I was born in Cambridge in New Zealand, and yeah, funny. And so it definitely had stopped before I turned 5. So it was, 4.
Well,
So that was
stop.
quite a few years.
Yeah, gosh. And seeing your younger siblings go through that as well would have been,
Well, I didn't know then either. So yeah,
mm,
but I remember now, I and I feel so sorry for them because they're all sort of still in the. I mean, I left the Mormon church and they are still there and totally brainwashed. It is. It's a brainwashing thing. And a lot of pedophiles actually do that, join secret societies and help to hide. They can hide in them as long as they're good citizens. I tried to tell a friend of mine that he was like that, and she said, "Oh no, he was such a nice guy." Oh yeah, right. Well, he was to me growing up, and that's what hurt. And I completely lost it when I found out. I completely lost it. And I had 4 young children at the time. And I'm afraid, I just did things that, uh, but I couldn't cope. I mean, my ex-husband, who I had to leave because he was not supportive at all. In fact, when at the same time that I was learning about this in the church, which was also hard to leave because it's programmed, um, he bought these cat, little kittens, 6 little kittens, and they all had fleas and mites, and we all got them, and I couldn't cope with it because it was right at the wrong time. I mean, what was he thinking? drove me crazy. I didn't cope with it, and I was giving them to the. I mean, I tried to cope with it, but I was totally out of it, honestly.
Well, so do you recall what triggered your memories to come back? Because you were married with four children. I
Yeah.
know you did your rebirthing work, but what do you think triggered the memories or the recall?
Yeah, that's interesting because I didn't actually believe her at first. I said, oh no, my father couldn't be like that. But then, as I kept thinking about it, I couldn't take it out of my mind. And then I remembered the dream, and that sort of made sense, more sense. And my sister, my younger sister, why was she like she was? The doctors had no answer for it. And I mean, physically, they said there was nothing wrong with her. So, and she's still like that. Still like that.
Well,
But
and I guess, just hello, survivors. Sorry, I haven't said hello to you yet. But just as Sue's sharing this with us, it's very interesting, isn't it, how our mind protects us from recognizing or experiencing the truth of what happened to us until we can cope. And of course, for Sue, it was while she had not one, not two, not three, but four children, and in a marriage she was unhappy with or not happy in. And of course, that type of trauma in itself can be enough to help reflect the initial trauma, which was in the family of origin. What do you think of that, Sue?
yeah, that could that be true? Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Just I just it was a really bad time, and I had to divorce my husband in the end because he didn't believe me. So what's the point? But
Wow.
I I I wanted to kill myself actually, but I had these four children, and I
So,
wouldn't leave them with my ex-husband, because he I knew I didn't want to leave them with him because he was not a good father, really.
no,
He had other sort of things he wanted to do, and he just, you know, yeah. Well, we didn't have a house. We were living in we had a 10-acre block, both paid for, and he was a builder, so I want to build the house. So okay, fine, get on with that. But 15 years later, when this happened, no house, living in a caravan with an annex at the side with four children, so that didn't help.
no, no. What
Yeah,
about,
so
I'm just, and please don't answer if you're not comfortable to. I want you to feel safe. That was your mother, do you think, aware at all of what he was doing to you children?
yeah, good question. I did question that, but I don't know. When I talk to my mother, she's dead now, so
Yeah,
I feel better about talking about it. But I don't know. I just I he sort of put it out of. If he did know, he put it out of her mind. She certainly wasn't going to tell us anything. But yeah, I don't know. It's something she went to her death with. If she did know, you know.
yeah,
Mm. It's hard to know if he did know, because he would come in at night when we called out, and he'd say to her, "Oh, I'll look after them." So it's hard. But then again, so often it happened. I think, oh no, she must have known
yeah,
something was going on.
of course. Look, And we can't guess, can we? I just wondered if you had knowledge of that. But did you have
No.
any safe adults around you? I know in the Mormon church you talk about the conditioning and kind of, very hard to leave the church, but were there any people around you that you felt safe with?
Um, Not in the church because they all, no, my parents, their family stopped talking to me. So I went through a period of grief over that because, I thought it's like they all died. But friends, no, I lost all my friends. But there was some friends that I'd made at school. The older kids were my older children were going to school then, and I made friends. And there was them, but there was no way they could understand what I was going through. I mean, and I didn't know how to explain what was happening to me because
No.
it's just so unbelievable, really. Like that.
So, can you tell me, because just I think it's really good for our audience to understand as well. So, what did the church, why did the church cut you off?
Well, they didn't. They tried to. They kept coming around because my ex was also a woman, and they kept coming around. They come back, come back to church. But no, we told them we didn't believe in it anymore. And I actually am thankful for my ex for that because he started that. He was um, delving into it deeper and found a few um, things that weren't didn't then with what like the history of the at the time of when it started wasn't correct for what they'd said it was. And there was a couple of books that the old prophet one that was dead wrote, and he said that he was doing the new hieroglyphic, and you read these hieroglyphics, and he actually put the pictures in the book. And then when people actually came out and learned to read hieroglyphics, it was not what that was in the pictures, and that was crazy. And I think they hide that book now. Actually, it shows that he wasn't, what he
No,
said he was.
no. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So, they didn't cut you off. You decided to leave the church.
Mm.
What was the reason behind that?
Well, as I said, my ex was um, had started investigating it because actually they'd told him off because of the way I was living, with 4 children in a caravan, and they had admonished him, and so he got his nose in the joint and decided not to go anymore. But he did actually investigate a lot of stuff that was
Yeah,
not true about
yeah,
what they'd said. And
yeah,
so being his wife, I thought, well, I've got to do it as well. I mean, that's not fair. He did it on his own. So
yeah,
I investigated on my own as well and found the inconsistencies there were in there. So, and that's why we left.
excuse me.
But I was freer then too, though, to go delve into, and I went on a search for truth after that. So that's one thing good that came out of it.
Yeah,
And another good thing is the church is not to take drugs, and so a lot of people resort to drugs, don't they? And I never did. I don't. I won't even take doctor's prescriptions because I don't. They don't. A lot of the time they don't work. So
yeah. So as you kind of, moved through life and you were kind of on your own then with 4 children trying to raise by yourself, what was helpful to you in trying to manage the memories that you now had and deal with life raising 4 children? What was that like for you?
I have to say that he took me to court and got 2 of the children back and brought
Oh,
them up, the 2 older boys.
oh, okay.
Um, I didn't even get to go. I'd gone to a refuge and with the kids, all of them, and yeah, he went to court, but I didn't even attend the court apparently because the refuge won't let you do it. Someone from the refuge went, and he got custody of the two older boys. So I only had two, and he had two, which probably was a bit easier for me actually, because for having two, and I had my daughter and the youngest son. So yeah, I brought them up, and we arranged to meet every weekend, swap children every weekend, so that they'd have contact with their siblings, which was important.
Gosh,
Yeah, but
how did you cope without your two eldest? That must have been hard.
yeah, that was as I said, I want I it was for I was living for the children. I didn't care about myself, and I just worried about them all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But I saw them every weekend, so every second weekend, so I'd catch up. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
And just talking to survivors now, survivors, you can see how with this type of trauma, the child sexual abuse, it then can go on into the next generation, our children, and we call this that intergenerational trauma. And none of us want this for our families or for our children or grandchildren to experience anything
Mm,
unpleasant. Um, and yet sometimes it sits there and it just takes the courage of a lion really to face into what has happened and try to heal from it so that we can then become more effective as parents and grandparents. But so you can see, can't you, when you look at it, how, your children now, um, yes, you must see some impact of that.
yes, definitely, and I'm sure it affected them in the split. It would have anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're all really doing well as far as I mean they've all got good jobs and they're living in Auckland because that's where their job is.
Yeah.
And they're adults now, so I sort of think, well, they've got their own path to live. So, and
And you
it's
have
good that
contact with all of them? Do you have
yeah,
contact?
yeah. Well, there's the internet now, so yeah, just it's more. I don't ring them very often, but I do text them. So, yeah,
Yeah. So,
I
well,
don't have any grandchildren at the moment.
that
Sorry, it's a bit
that'll
of a
come.
worry.
That'll come. So tell us what has helped you as a survivor healing from this? What's helped you? I'm just thinking of our audience and how there may be some things you've done or tried that really worked for you in your healing of this child sexual abuse.
Yeah, and I had that spiritual thing as well. I didn't know what to believe, so I went into meditation, and that has helped so much because there was a time when I was talking, I wasn't being able to talk to anyone really because I was so lost. But yeah, meditation helped me, and I think it helped with the abuse as well, as well as the spiritual side of it. Was that got me through.
Yeah. Awesome. You would recommend that? Is there anything else you did that helped? Did you
Um,
get into therapy? Did you do any kind of survival?
well, I did. I was going to a lot of doctors because I got really ill physically as well. Um, and I went to a lot of counselling, but just recently I've got into this self-awareness community, and it's all about you. They help you concentrate on yourself, which I hadn't for years. There's the children growing up, and then things happen, and and it's great because it's really important that you think of yourself first, and because if you don't, you can't think of others. So, and that it's really great. It's helped me so much the last few years. In the last year, I joined it. So,
Oh, that's amazing. So, what sort of work do you do in there? Is it talking to others? Is it journaling? Is it doing group sessions? Like, what sort of work is it?
all of that, group sessions. They have a social group that you can just chat in, and she does healing. That's the psychic healing, the lady that runs it, and yeah, group. And she has special like she has what's called a nurse school, and she has loads of chat. She has different people doing things, and you go to different. You think, yeah, you can join different groups and study, learn a lot of stuff. And I'm learning so much stuff that, well, I wasn't able to get it from Mormon church. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, it's
So,
great.
yeah, it is. It's really great.
That's great. And would you give, you may not, but is there any advice you would give to survivors watching? Anything that you think would help them?
Well, try meditation if you're not doing it, because it does really help. Um, I mean, I've got a partner now, and he uses booze to get over things. But I use meditation, so that'll at least get you off booze. But I mean, he's not too bad with it. But yeah, he knows the difference. I mean, it doesn't cost anything. Meditation for one thing,
It's true.
you know.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, there's plenty of on YouTube. There's plenty of meditations videos.
sure.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a very powerful thing. And survivors, what you'll find is whatever you choose that resonates with you is what you must do. It's great. Sue can offer that, and I totally agree with her. Meditation has been a very big feature for me in my healing, one of the biggest actually. So
mm.
I find it incredible. But you may find journaling is more effective for you, or you may find group work's more effective. There is no right way. There is always just your way, and you must trust you. Your instinct will always lead you to healing and to truth and light. So, any final words you'd like to share, or anything else you would like to add before we close off today?
Um, well, you mentioned journaling. I have been doing that a lot with this community that I'm in as well. But I like writing, and so I'm writing my own story. Whether it gets published or not, it doesn't really matter. But it's that really healing is writing about yourself, and that's what journaling is really. But I'm hoping to put it into a book so I
Wow.
can get out. Yeah, hope so.
Yeah.
But I had trouble with my first book, so been put off publishing stuff. But there's self-publishing now, so yeah.
So your first
But
book was
whatever
published?
makes yeah. Yeah, it's just a fictional fun book, but I was homeless at one stage, so it's got a theme about homelessness to how why people are homeless, you know. And but it's a story about a young girl. But yeah, different.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll get those links to your book included in the notes for this interview so that people
Okay.
can access if they wish to. And Sue, stay right there because I'm going to close out. So, audience, it's great having survivors from everywhere who have experienced so many different um, types of abuse, and you can see, with the Mormon Church that Sue was describing. that type of control or the conditioning she experienced, it potentially fed into some of the abuse she experienced at the hands of her father
Yeah.
and her
Mm.
siblings. So I think it's really important we recognise that and that we just have compassion and empathy for all survivors. So as we're closing out today, just know, and Sue, please stay right there. Survivors, as always, I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.